First time since Moscow launched its invasion in 2022. It says the missile targeted Dnipro city in the central east region of Ukraine. The Kremlin has refused to comment. Meanwhile, Ukraine reportedly fired 12 British-made cruise missiles into Russia's Kursk region on Wednesday. Moscow says it downed 2 of the missiles. It's the latest use of Western weapons on Russian targets. It comes a day after Ukraine fired US missiles with Washington's approval. President Joe Biden has also authorized sending an anti-personnel mine force to Ukrainian forces. The Kremlin has accused Washington of trying to prolong the war. Russia has said that a new US ballistic missile defense base in northern Poland raises the overall level of nuclear danger.
This long-term American and NATO construction project, which lasted for almost a decade and totally neglected Russian security concerns, has been the focus of our attention from the standpoint of compensating countermeasures. Given the nature and level of threats posed by such Western military facilities, the missile defence base in Poland has long been added to the list of priority targets for potential destruction, which, if necessary, can be executed with a wide range of advanced weapons.
We have 2 correspondents covering the story for us. Yulia Shapovalova is standing by in Moscow. But first, let's go to Asad Beg. He's in the Ukrainian capital, Kyiv. So, Asad, what does the aftermath of this ICBM attack look like in Dnipro?
Well, we don't know what it looks like. The Ukrainians haven't really given much information about the damage that it's caused. We've heard these strikes have injured possibly 2 people. It was hit an industrial area, we understand, but also there were 7 other missiles fired that weren't intercontinental ballistic missiles, just 7 missiles, and Ukrainian Air Force says that they intercepted 6 of them. Now, if this is confirmed about this intercontinental missile, this RS-26 Rubze, it would be the first military use of such a missile. Now, it is capable of carrying a nuclear warhead or a warhead carrying around 800 kilograms, but we understand that obviously it didn't. It was fired from southern Russia, we understand, about 700 kilometers away from the central eastern town of Dnipro, and we're not hearing how much damage it's done from Ukrainian sources. What they're saying is that not a lot of damage has been done from these strikes. Most of these strikes were intercepted. So we don't know why it was fired. It's an expensive bit of weaponry. But if we were to speculate, it's Russia reminding Ukraine and its Western allies that it has these capabilities and is able to use them. But of course, there's been no confirmation from Russia as of yet.
All right, let's thank Asad Beg. Let's go over to Moscow now. We've got Yulia Shapovalova there, and are Russian officials saying much about the use of this reported use of an ICBM?
Well, not at all. As we just heard from my colleague, Russia does not officially comment on the case. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov has said that questions about Kyiv's claims about Russia's alleged use of ICBMs in Ukraine should be redirected to the Ministry of Defense, and the Ministry of Defense keeps silent as well. So, and it's also interesting that even at her weekly briefing, Maria Zakharova, the Foreign Ministry spokeswoman, also allegedly received a telephone call with the order not to comment on the case. So, and Peskov also commented on the information about the earlier use of Storm Shadow missiles, by the way, against targets in Russia, and called it a new escalation. So basically, he continues blaming the outgoing US administration that it adds fuel to the fire of the Ukrainian conflict, preventing its end. So talking about this particular ICBM case, the alleged launch of the ICBM could be a response to Ukraine's earlier use of ATACMS and Storm Shadow missiles on Russian territory. We read it on Telegram blogs. Military analysts say that the day before the Ukrainian armed forces struck the Kursk region, where alleged an in-depth command post of the Russian army could have been located. So that may be the first combat use of a missile of this particular type. The launch was allegedly carried out from the Astrakhan region, from the Kapustin Yar missile range, where the RS-26 Rubezh complexes are actually based. So early in the morning, the territory of the military facility was attacked by Ukrainian drones, and Russia once again says there is no reliable information about the target of the missile strike. So according to the Ukrainian side, in the Dnipro region, 2 people were injured, and as a result of this strike, a rehabilitation center where people with disabilities were placed, and a garage. So just several private houses were allegedly damaged.
All right, we'll leave it there. Thanks so much for that update from Yulia Shapovalova in Moscow. Let's continue this here in the studio. We've got Al Jazeera's defense editor, Alex Kotopoulos, to talk more to us about it. First of all, Alex, we often can get viewers lost in the alphabet soup of acronyms and weapon types. What is an ICBM, and how is it different from other weapons or missiles that have been used?
So an ICBM is intercontinental ballistic missile. It's the longest range missile that exists on Earth, and they are strategic weapons. They're very expensive, they're highly developed, and they're used solely to deliver nuclear weapons. In this particular case, it's meant to deliver 4 nuclear weapons, each with the explosive power of about 10 to 20 times the bomb that destroyed Hiroshima. So that gives you an idea.
Just to clarify for viewers, we're not suggesting that they didn't have a nuclear warhead, right?
Yes.
Why would... I'm going to try and frame the question carefully and responsibly, but looking at it from a military perspective, was there a need to use the longest range missile on Earth, as you put it, an it's literally intercontinental? Or does it look like this was more of sending a message by using a very long range weapon, a message not only to Ukraine, but others supporting Ukraine much further away?
Very much so, not just a message, a warning. So this is only because of its exclusivity in carrying nuclear weapons. Normally, sending something like that over, and by the way, this is probably one of the fastest moving things on Earth. It's going to come in at about 24,000 kilometers an hour. That's 20 times roughly about the speed of sound. That gives you an idea of just how fast this thing's moving. It will be virtually impossible to intercept. So the warning is very clear. We can hit your cities. You can't stop it. And we're implying a red line here. And this is obviously comes a day after British-made Storm Shadows absolutely were used on Russian soil, 12 of them. So again, designed to hit high-value targets, although these fly very close to the ground, a very, very different type of weapon. But yes.
And does this, when we look at the type of weapon, this represents something different from the ATACMS from Storm Shadow, right?
Yes.
So we're seeing this constant going up on the ladder of escalation?
Yes, we are. It started in response to Russia deploying allegedly North Korean troops in Kursk. Then President Biden allowed the use of ATACMS. And then we had this kind of tit for tat. President Putin lowered the use of nuclear weapons, the threshold for nuclear weapons, put that into law. And then landmines, and then Storm Shadows yesterday, and today an ICBM. And it's on a daily basis that this is kind of going up the escalation ladder.
A bit worrying, but thank you so much, Alex, for coming and breaking it down, making it a little more simple for everyone to understand. Alex Kotopoulos.
В боевых условиях было проведено в том числе и испытание одной из новейших. В ответ на применение американского и британского дальнобойного оружия 21 ноября текущего года российские вооруженные силы нанесли комбинированный удар по одному из объектов оборонно-промышленного комплекса Украины. В боевых условиях было проведено в том числе и испытание одной из новейших российских ракетных систем средней дальности. В данном случае с баллистической ракетой в безъядерном гиперзвуковом оснащении. Мы считаем себя вправе применять наше оружие против военных объектов тех стран.
С военно-технической точки зрения мы, конечно, готовы. Они у нас постоянно находятся постоянно находятся в состоянии боевой готовности. Это первое. А второе, и это тоже общепризнанная вещь, наша триада, ядерная триада, она является более современной, чем любая другая триада. Таких триад только вот у нас, да, американцев, на самом деле. И мы здесь продвинулись гораздо больше. У нас она более современная.